What's good, YouTube? It's Rico here, and I've got a deck profile for Dragon Link in the new September 2020 ban list, which basically is unchanged. They chose to not hit a single card in this deck. So really all this is going to be is switching back to the hand traps. The Odd Eyes Revolution package I tried in the old build, while cute, isn't really necessary, and I think the defense is important, because even though they toned down like combo Eldritch and Adamancipator, there's still a combo running around, so I think hand traps are still very important. And then just like some other minor adjustments, but for the most part this is going to be very similar to lists I've shown before. I was honestly really hoping they would like hit this deck, because one, I just don't think it deserves to exist. It's so absurd. But also, as I mentioned in that one video I posted about a week ago or a couple of days ago, I'm kind of sick of all-in combo, and I'm kind of hoping this flops, because I would like to play something like, you know, like Invoked or like Dragoon or like Dogmatica. But I feel like this deck is just too absurdly powerful, especially since like the other two high ceiling decks of the format got nerfed really hard. I feel like this is the clear frontrunner of the next format. And I kind of hope I'm wrong, but if I'm right, I feel like I just kind of have to play this because it's just that good. So yeah, this is going to be the deck profile. I'll go through it really quickly because it is really much of the same. And then I've gotten some requests to show like my primary combo, so I'll show that also. And this is still the Buster Lock. So you end on Dragoon, Borreload Savage, Appaloosa, and the Buster Lock, which is really hard to get over. And if I considered playing VFD again, but Forbidden Droplet kind of just makes me wary of doing that. And Forbidden Droplet I feel is going to be really popular because it's one of the best answers to Dragoon. So yeah, I just felt like it was better to do Buster Lock because it's harder to out that when it's backed up by 3 or 4 negates. So yeah, let's get into it. So for rocket cards, it's still just 3 Tracer, 1 Recharger, and Absorouter. You don't really need any other rockets, really. Like, this is all that is necessary at this point. You really just want Tracer, but you need to summon something off of it, and Recharge is the best one by far that's not Tracer. And then the 1 card starter monsters, at least, are Cypher, or 3 Cypher, 1 Collapse Serpent, 1 Wyver Burster, 3 Black Metal Dragon, 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, 3 Chamber Dragon Maid, and the Dragon Maid Hospitality to search with it. So yeah, the deck is kind of normal summon heavy because this is 9 normal summons, but these are all 1 card combo. And if I were to cut one of them and replace it with an extender, that would be like drawing 2 of these is the equivalent of essentially drawing a 2 card combo. And even then, like, there's so many ways to get cards out of your hand. You got Dragon Ravine, you got Brotor, you got Chaos Space. Very often, if you open 2 of these, you'll get the other one in the graveyard, and then you can like revive it with Pisty or Monster Reborn or War Legacy Guard Dragon, and then just continue extending that way. So these are starter cards that also function as superior extenders. So I think playing all 9 of the like normal summons is very much worth it. So yeah, and then other extenders, we have 3 Noctivision Dragon. Just being able to chain block and cantrip to draw is like super good, especially because like Romulus is one of the biggest choking points of the deck, so being able to protect Romulus is huge. 1 Red Rose Dragon and 1 White Rose Dragon. You need these for the Garden Rose Maiden combo. I've never really found myself needing the second White Rose Dragon. Like, drawing it kind of sucks, but I also don't want to play 2 of it because drawing it kind of sucks. So yeah. And then Levianeer and Brotor. The thing I really like about Brotor in this is just like getting to Levianeer, which not only is ripping a card out of your opponent's hand like a pseudo negate because you're removing one of their options, but just like the issue I had with older builds where I wasn't playing Brotor was that Levianeer was kind of hard to get to. So I was playing like Dragon Shrine and Foolish Burial to compensate for that, where like I would get to Cypher, and then if I drew into like Dragon Shrine or Foolish Burial, I could just dump the Levianeer and then add the Cypher, or have the Cypher added back. But Brotor just makes it so that you use the Levianeer, so it's always online, because it's just like you grab it and then use it and then put it in the graveyard. And then if you've used Cypher at some point, or if you draw into Cypher, you can just like put the Levianeer back in your hand. And I just like that a lot more. And Brotor also, like, if you need an extra body for whatever reason and you haven't used Collapse Serpent and Wyver Burst, you can just grab Collapse Serpent instead, and it's one more body to work with, which, like, really doesn't come up often, but it can. So yeah. One Phalanx because I play the Dragoonity Divine Lance, and then one Dragon Buster. And those are all the monsters. For hand traps, I have 3 Ash, 2 Veiler, 3 Gamma in the driver, and then 3 Impermanents. I feel like I don't need to explain these, they're just like clearly the best ones. I mentioned in an older video that Gamma is an alternate target for Chaos Space. I was actually wrong about that. Chaos Space can only add a monster whose level is between 4 and 8, so disregard that. Gamma's still really absurd anyway, so you should absolutely play it. Veiler, so like I wanted to play more than 9 hand traps because it's a 60 card deck, and I feel like 9 is the current like commonly accepted number of hand traps. So I put in 2 Veiler inside the third one. In older builds, where I played hand traps, the third Ash was what I sided instead, and I mained 3 of the Veilers. The reason I went to playing 3 Ash is even though Veiler is light, which means it synergizes with like Chaos Space and Collapse Serpent and everything, Ash is the only card that it's the only card that can answer Nadir Servant. It's the only card that can answer Red Eyes Fusion. So those 2 cards alone, I feel like gives Ash a huge amount of utility that justifies playing it. Even though, aside from being a tuner that sometimes you have to normal summon, but really not often, like it doesn't synergize too much with the deck. But like that alone, I think makes it the third best hand trap, but after Gamma and Impermanence, at least in the main deck. And then Veiler is just like the least useful one because it kind of just overlaps with Impermanence and like kind of overlaps with Gamma, but like it's also just like a strong effect anyway. So it's essentially just more copies of Impermanent Gamma. So yeah. And then the last monsters are just the cards for the Dark Dragoon package, which is Dark Magician, Red Eyes Black Dragon, and Red Eyes Fusion. So, well, this isn't the monster, but you know, you get the idea. And then the remaining spells in the deck are 3 Chaos Space and 1 for 1. These are your 1.5 card starters that don't waste your normal summon, which is like such a huge power play in this deck. If you can get going without your normal summon, even if your opponent stops you, you just have to summon a monster and then keep going. And then Chaos Space is just absurd because it just replaces itself like twice. So 3 Quick Launch, Emergency Teleport for Rocket Tracer is pretty good. 3 World Legacy Guard Dragon and Monster Reborn. Revival is just really strong in this deck, and World Legacy Guard Dragon being able to move zones, move a dragon to another zone is useful if you need to just push through Disruption. Field spells are Black Garden, Boot Sector Launch, and Dragon Ravine. And then my alternate target for Romulus if I don't need Dragon Ravine is Divine Lance. So basically, if you have Quick Launch or Tracer already, then you just grab Divine Lance instead, and you use Phalanx to go into Needle Fiber, and it makes it so you don't have to burn Rocket Tracer and Boot Sector Launch, which is just good because then at that point you can just use it as another extender. And then the last 3 cards are 3 Triple Tactics Talent. This card's really good in just about any deck. It's especially good in combo decks because if your opponent hits you with a hand trap, you can just like rip another card out of their hand, or if you need to like draw more cards, you can do that as well. So yeah, the card's just really good. It's what Calls by the Grave should have been, in my opinion. And yeah, that was the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So, extra deck has not changed from the last list. I really think like you use 13 of these cards in the combo, and then the last 2 are like, one of them is the second Striker Dragon, so you can't really flex that because it just comes up when you need to push through stuff. So really, there's like no flexibility in this extra deck. So 2 Striker Dragon, LP, I don't know how that card didn't get banned, Pisty, Linkross, I kind of understand why it didn't get banned, but it absolutely should have been, same with Needle Fiber, but they haven't really seen like super competitive play yet because there just haven't been any events, so I think that's probably why they stayed legal. Romulus, Delindrous, you need this to get LP and Pisty off the board, and then it can revive itself after you activate Rocket Tracer, which can serve as an extender, which is why I like it over the Buster Whelp or whatever. Not the Buster Whelp, the Protector Whelp, that one. Yeah, and also like Protector Whelp pointing down left and down right is useful, but like Verde Anaconda can do the same thing. So I haven't really found myself needing Protector Whelp, even in situations where I have to like finagle a board. Union Carrier for the Dragon Buster, Appaloosa, Access Code Talker, Savage, and Garden Rose Maiden, and then Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Like I said, that has not changed at all. So yeah. And then side deck, again, is still mostly the same, but a little different, I guess. Mostly just minor stuff. So Pankratops, Third Valor, 3 Nibiru. So between main and side, there's still 15 hand traps. I kind of wish I could play more, but there's just no room. Like, I couldn't justify cutting any of the other cards just to play more hand traps. And I think 15 should be fine in most cases, especially because, like, the most ignorant combo deck was Adamantipator, and that's not really an issue anymore. So I feel like you don't need to, like, overload on hand traps anymore, but you still want a lot of them to deal with combo. So I think this is fine. 3 Forbidden Droplet. If I was going to play another hand trap, this would probably be what I cut, but Droplet is too useful for outing just like random shit. Like, it outs Dragoon, it outs Utopic Zexal, it outs VFD, like, it's just really useful in general. So I feel like it's just like a card you have to play 2 or 3 of between main and side. 3 Lightning Storm, and then the new big unbanned card on the block is Harpy's Feather Duster. I am very happy this card came back. I just like how it's a nice, powerful, generic back row hate card to get rid of like some of the more annoying spell and trap cards like Mystic Mine and other floodgates. That is also very non-restrictive compared to other cards like Lightning Storm or Twin Twister that either have a big cost or have like some requirement that it can't always be met. And I think it's a safer card to bring back than Heavy Storm, because Heavy Storm, being able to pop your own spell and trap cards, can be very dangerous in the current game. Because so many spawn traps float, so I definitely think this was a good idea. So 2 evenly matched. I cut the third one for to side the Valor, and I think that's fine, honestly, because Harpy's Feather Duster exists, so it's like you're not really losing out on any back row hate. And then Red Reboot. So yeah, and that's the side deck. And that's the entire deck. So I'll show off the baseline combo that ends on like the full tilt board. So you just need any of your like any way to get to your 2 dragons. So we'll just say it's like Chamber Dragon Maid, and then you need another extender, so we'll say Monster Reborn, and then let's just say the last 3 cards in your hand are all blanks, so let's just say it's 3 impermanents. Let me make sure you can see the hand down here. Yes, you can. All right, so let's say this is your hand, and assuming no interruption, this would get to the whole board. So you summon the Chamber Dragon Maid, or whatever your normal summon was, and you grab whatever its search target is. So in this case, we will grab Dragon Maid Hospitality, wherever it is. And then you link the Chamber Dragon Maid into your first Striker Dragon, and that Striker Dragon activates. And this will add, wherever it is, this will add Boot Sector Launch to your hand. And then you get this second dragon out, so in this case you play Dragon Maid Hospitality to bring back the Chamber Dragon Maid. And then you link these 2 into Romulus. And then Romulus activates to add either Divine Lance or Dragon Ravine. We're just going to work under the assumption that you don't have access to Rocket Tracer, so we'll just add Dragon Ravine. And then from here, Romulus becomes Linkross. You can do this before you, or you can do this after you activate Dragon Ravine. Doesn't really matter. If you're doing Divine Lance, obviously you have to Divine Lance before this. But you summon 2 tokens, and then you activate Dragon Ravine, and discard one of the cards in your hand that doesn't matter. So discard just the impermanents. You send Absorautor Dragon, and then Absorautor Dragon will add Rocket Tracer to your hand. And then you activate Boot Sector Launch, use its effect to special summon the Rocket Tracer, and then you link 2, and then you summon your Needle Fiber, and Fiber's effect will summon Red Rose Dragon. So for anybody who might be looking to figure out how to beat this deck, I would say this is probably the prime point in Nibiru. I'm not sure if it's really changed, but this has always felt like the proper point. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always told people this is probably the best place to do it. So Synchro for 5. And you summon Garden Rose Maiden, and then Red Rose summons White Rose, and Garden Rose adds Black Garden in your hand. So Black Garden, and then White Rose. And then you link for 4. And this makes Appaloosa. And then Garden Rose activates, banishes herself to bring back either White Rose or Red Rose. And then you link that monster into LP rather. So you summon LP. LP's effect summons Brotor. And Brotor's effect discards another card in your hand to add Levianeer. And then Brotor turns into Pissy. Pissy revives a dragon. The dragon you revive doesn't really matter. So if there's a dragon in your graveyard that has an effect that is live, so say you opened like 2 1-card starters. So say you opened like Chamber Dragon Maid and Black Metal Dragon, and you started with Black Metal Dragon, and then somewhere, either for Dragon Ravine or for Brotor, you discarded the Chamber Dragon Maid. Here you could use Pissy to revive that Chamber Dragon Maid and then grab the Hospitality, and that's essentially another extender. If not, just revive the Brotor. Alright, so the Levianeer's in your hand. So from here you activate Black Garden, and you link Pissy and LP away to summon Delindris. And Black Garden activates and gives your opponent 1 Rose token. Where it goes doesn't really matter. And then from here, you summon Levianeer by banishing 3 darks. I usually banish LP, Pissy, and like Red Rose. It doesn't really matter at this point. That rips a card out of your opponent's hand, and then Black Garden summons another Rose token. And then Black Garden activates, targeting the Rocket Tracer in your graveyard. And then you pop these, revive the Tracer, and then Delindris and the Levianeer link into Union Carrier. And then from here, Tracer pops the Brotor, which summons the Recharger, and that activates the Delindris in your graveyard. So Delindris is one of the 2 monsters that's going to make Verte Anaconda. If you don't have access to another monster beyond this, I would say don't even bother activating the Delindris and just don't end on Dark Dragoon. And then if your opponent actually, like, you'll end on 1 less negate, but if your opponent manages to break it, you at least have a follow-up play because Dark Dragoon can be a finisher. But you will probably have an extender because this deck runs so many of them. So revive the Delindris Dragon. The Tracer and the Recharger synchro into Borreload Savage. Savage equips himself with any link monster in your graveyard. The go-to is Fiber just because it has the highest attack. And then from here, just whatever extender in your hand gets you to another body. In this case, we'll just Monster Reborn to revive any of the dragons in our graveyard. These link into Verte Anaconda. Verte Anaconda uses the fact you pay 2,000 life points and you send Red Eyes Fusion, which sends Red Eyes Black Dragon and Dark Magician to summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and then you use Union Carrier to target the Borreload Savage. You have to target Savage because Dark Dragoon cannot be targeted, so you cannot equip the Buster to Dark Dragoon. So you equip the Savage with Dragon Buster. And this is the full board. You have Appaloosa with 3 negates. You have Savage with 2 Boral counters. You have the Dark Dragoon. And you have the Buster Lock, so your opponent can't summon from the extra deck. And you have 1 card in hand to guarantee that you can discard for Dark Dragoon. And like these are left behind, and they're kind of just like bait for attacks. But you pay 2,000 to use Anaconda anyway, so I don't really consider it a big deal. Like, you're already low on life anyway, so in time, you might just want to go second. So, yeah. And that's the entire combo, and that's the deck. Yeah, I'm hoping this isn't as broken as I think it is, but I feel like this is just, like, the top contender of the format. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.